Hi there. Hope you're doing fine. Happy day to you wherever you are. So today is a wonderful Thursday, and something inside of me was just kind of dying to make some kind of a video. And I'm having a melon right now, which I just took a picture of. These were some pre-cut slices from a local little supermarket. And the reason I want to make this post is because I wanted to let you know that every day, because I'm sure you're just thrilled to know that I usually break my fast. I begin eating usually with a melon, and it's something that I've been doing now for about 4 years, ever since I learned about food combining and about the digestive speed of different foods, because different foods take a certain amount of time to transit through our digestive system. And some foods take longer, some foods take a shorter transit time, and some take much longer. So for instance, some foods that are very heavy and dense and complex will take longer. For instance, proteins. Proteins are more complicated bonds of amino acids, molecules that need to be broken down when we ingest them. So that's why some people, they might feel like protein gets stuck in their digestive system, or it kind of causes some putrefaction because it just sits there if it's not properly digested, if you don't properly chew it. So there are different factors that impact the way that foods either exit our body swiftly and smoothly, or whether they stay compacted and get dense and thick inside of our colon, our large intestine, and then our small intestine. So these are things that I like to research and talk about if anyone is interested to know, because digestion is so crucial and it's critical for our well-being. It's critical for health primarily. Just at a very basic level, because if you're not digesting your food properly and it's getting stuck inside of our colon, especially the large intestine and the colon, where it just all the bacteria reside after the liquid has been absorbed from, well, the breakdown happens partially. Well, it depends really. It's that's a whole other video. But the digestive system, the process of breakdown of food will begin in our mouth, specifically with carbohydrates, which get broken down first by the amylase enzyme that is in our mouth, and then it goes down past our stomach. It doesn't get necessarily digested primarily in the stomach, because the stomach has a stronger capacity to digest proteins. So the carbohydrate will be broken down, you chew it, it becomes this bolus of mixed up, chewed up food, and then it goes down through our stomach. It gets broken down a bit by the HCl, hydrochloric acid, and then it goes into the small intestine, where it's broken down further, and there's absorption of some nutrients. And the minerals, it gets broken down, breakdown, absorption by the villi that are lining the intestinal wall, and then it passes into our large intestine, the colon, where it gets further broken down a bit, but there's absorption of water as well. And then in the colon, in the lower part of the colon, is where we'll have a portion of our bacteria. We have bacteria all over our body, but it will go down into our colon, and then that's where a huge portion of our bacteria reside, which further break down the fiber, especially the fiber that is really hard to break down in the upper tracts, that is a stronger molecule bond, and that's where it sits. So if we're eating certain foods that are complicated, especially processed foods, which have a lot of chemicals and additives, fillers, colorants, preservatives, added flavors, added chemicals, a whole host of additionals that are definitely not natural, but they're synthetic and they're manufactured. Yeah, so basically that's just like to highlight the digestion, and the reason I mentioned that is because it's relevant to the melon that I'm eating. And the reason I have melon on an empty stomach first thing before I eat other foods is because melon has a very fast, like the fastest transit time of all foods. Melon, watermelon, rock melon, honeydew, all the melons. They're very simple sugars. They break down quickly, so they get absorbed easily into the body. It's good sugar. It's water rich, high water content, so it'll like go through your system very swiftly, which is why I would suggest, I mean, you can research on your own, of course, but I would suggest like you giving it a try too if you struggle with your digestion or if you feel gassy or bloated. If you have melons after a big meal, which I noticed that people have, and it's like part of like a typical way of eating. I mean, and of course it depends on your body, like you decide for you, but this is something that I feel for me. Because if I ever were to have melon after eating other foods, especially like having grains, and definitely if you have like proteins, you had a meal, like a fatty, like high fat or protein combined with carbs, like that's super complicated and it's dense for your body to be processing, which your body can do. It'll just be like more laborious, and it'll take more energy like for your body to do that, and it will be like a little bit more longer in your system to be broken down. But we don't want that, right? We don't want food getting like stuck inside. We don't want it sitting too long in our colon, or it being like just like mass that stays there putrefying until somehow by the grace of God it exits our body. And so I would suggest if you ever struggle with this and you kind of like shy away from melons because you notice that like you have them after a big meal or after you have like grains and fats and proteins, well then try experimenting with having melon before you eat other foods. Have it as a pre-meal kind of snack, or opening your meal with that, you know, kind of like a supportive digestive pre-emptory food that you're putting in your system so it can hydrate you and nourish your internal cells and be smooth for your digestion. And then it won't give you the gassiness and the bloating and the distension perhaps that you'll feel if you have melon after a heavy meal. Because what happens, if you think about it logically, you can visualize like melon takes like about 30 minutes to pass through your system. Not that you're going to poop it out right away, because that, you know, your bowel movement transit time will depend on other factors like your hydration, your stress levels, your sleep, how much food you're retaining in your colon already, what's already stuck there waiting to be eliminated. But if you think about it, if you had a heavy meal and then you have melon on top of it, which is supposed to go really fast, but the other food is already there sitting in your system, that's taking a longer time, and it's not going to pass through your stomach or your colon or your intestine, your small intestine and your large intestine. It's not going to pass through swiftly because it needs to be broken down over a longer number of hours. The melon is just going to be there, and it's going to be jamming up the works, you know, like traffic. So I invite you to consider that as you move forward. If you struggle with gassiness and bloating, is think about the digestion time of different foods that you're having, and perhaps give it a try to have the foods that are more fast digesting, like melons and fruits and high water content items, having those first, and then the next course that you will have will be the heavier, denser foods. And that way you can do your meal sequencing, like food sequencing, so that you can optimize your digestion, and perhaps it will help you to no longer or struggle less with bloating or gassiness or distension or just discomfort, which then turns you off from having really healthy, simple, nutritious foods like melon. Okay, so that's it for now. If you have any questions, let me know. And I'm glad you watched this, and I hope that it benefits you tremendously. And I have faith that it will. So take care of yourself, and I'll see you soon. And thanks for tuning in from Jen at Personal Power Wellness. Take care of yourself. Bye.